All right, let's just jump right in. You scroll through your feed and it's just a nonstop parade of fresh ink, right? Your friends are showing off their new sleeves, and there you are, a totally blank canvas. It's so easy to feel like you're the weird one out, but what if I told you that the choice to not get a tattoo is actually one of the most psychologically complex and, frankly, fascinating decisions you can make? Yeah, let's get into it. First, let's get some context. Get this. A massive 46% of all millennials have at least one tattoo. That's nearly half of an entire generation. So what does that actually mean? It means being ink-free has kind of become the minority position. And while everybody talks about why people get tattoos, almost nobody is talking about the psychology of those who don't. So, what's the deal with the other 54%? Is it really just about a fear of needles? Or not being able to find the perfect design? Well, it turns out the reality is way more profound. The reasons people choose to stay tattoo-free reveal some incredible things about how we think about time, identity, and, our place in the world. Okay, so that brings us to our first big reason. And it all comes down to your relationship with a person you haven't even met yet. You in the future. I mean, think about it. We make huge, permanent decisions all the time, like mortgages or even getting married. But for some people, a little tattoo can feel way more permanent. And why is that? It's because they just have a really hard time believing the person they're going to be in 20 or 30 years will want the exact same thing. To them, getting a tattoo today is like forcing a total stranger to wear an outfit they never would have picked out for themselves. And you know what? There's actually a psychological term for this feeling. It's called future self-continuity. And people who choose to stay tattoo-free, they often have a lower sense of this. They're just so keenly aware that their personality, their values, their tastes, they can and probably will change a lot over a lifetime. And this is a really crucial point. It's so easy to just write this off as being indecisive, but for a lot of people, it's actually a really sophisticated kind of strategic, future-focused thinking. It's a genuine cognitive skill. There's a name for this too. Psychologists call it temporal discounting awareness. Basically, it's the ability to vividly feel the sting of future regret right now, before you've even made the decision. It's literally like having a high-def preview of your 45-year-old self looking down at your 19-year-old's edgy tattoo and just, cringe. All right, let's move on. Let's see how this all builds from our relationship with time to our relationship with our own identity. A tattoo is a statement, right? It says, this is me. This matters to me. But what if you're someone who doesn't really see your identity as a fixed point that needs to be commemorated? What if, for you, you're just this constantly evolving project that's never ever truly finished? So this is what's known as a fluid identity orientation. For people with this mindset, permanently marking their skin feels like putting a period at the end of a sentence when they feel like they're still writing the chapter. For them, it's all about staying adaptable, staying changeable, and staying free from the person they used to be. And this contrast is it's perfect. On one hand, you've got this fluid identity, which is all about actively staying open to growth. But on the other hand, you have something called identity foreclosure. And that's when you commit to an identity way too early, without really exploring other options. So for some people, avoiding a tattoo is their way of avoiding that trap. But, here's where it gets a little tricky. There is such a fine line here. Psychologists say that while this can be a really healthy commitment to personal growth, it can also sometimes hide a deeper fear of defining yourself, or even a fear of commitment in general. Yeah, that line between just evolving and, simply avoiding a decision, it can get really blurry. Okay, so up to now, we've been all up in our heads. Let's zoom out a bit and look at the external stuff, the social calculations that happen in like a split second. See, for a lot of people, there's this subconscious cost-benefit analysis that's just always running in the background. Even with tattoos being totally mainstream now, these questions still pop up. Will this mess with my career options? How are my conservative relatives going to react? How does this one choice change the story people tell themselves about me before I even open my mouth? And really, what do all those questions boil down to? It's this really basic desire for control. Specifically, control over how the outside world perceives you. So sociologists have a name for this: impression management. Honestly, it's a game we all play. People who are really dialed into this are often way more hesitant to get a tattoo because it's a permanent variable. It's a piece of information about you that you can never really take back or hide in some situations. You're basically giving up a piece of that strategic control. Okay, but this next idea, this might be the most powerful way to look at this whole thing. What if being tattoo-free isn't about avoidance or being scared, but it's about a conscious, positive choice, like a philosophy all on its own? Oh, I absolutely love this way of thinking about it. In a world that's just screaming, express yourself, stand out, choosing not to add anything is its own powerful statement. It's a rejection of the whole idea that we need to tack on external symbols to show our internal meaning. It's this beautiful form of simplicity and just quiet confidence. And this idea, it often comes from something called an intrinsic identity orientation. This is the core belief that who you are, your values, your memories, the people you love, it all exists entirely inside of you. People with this orientation, they don't need a tattoo to remind them of someone they love or something they believe in. They carry it inside them, and for them, that's more than enough. And this, right here, is probably the most important distinction we're going to make, because this psychology it's completely different. Choosing unmarked skin comes from a place of self-possession, a philosophy. But avoiding marked skin, that often comes from a place of anxiety or worrying about what other people think. The why behind that choice? That's everything. Okay, so let's wrap this up. And in doing so, let's kind of challenge this big cultural story we've all been told. Somehow we've created this idea that tattoos automatically equal depth, that having ink somehow signifies a more meaningful life. But it's not true. Meaning isn't dependent on a physical medium. Some of the most profound experiences and memories we have can exist just as vividly inside us. Just because you can't see the symbol doesn't mean the substance isn't there. So really, in the end, whether you're covered in ink or have completely blank skin, neither choice is automatically better or deeper. The psychology of being tattoo-free is every bit as complex and valid as the psychology of being tattooed. The real question isn't what you decide to do. It's about the self-awareness behind it. Are you making that choice, whatever it is, consciously and authentically for you?